Hello, dear hearts, it's Nimbrascale here. Come, settle yourself beneath your blankets. Adjust your pillow just so. Let your shoulders drop. Let the day fall away like autumn leaves drifting to soft ground. Tonight, I'd like to take you somewhere gentle. A place where lanterns glow, soft amber against cottage windows. Where the scent of warm bread drifts through the twilight air. And where even the dragons sleep early. Settle in, breathe slowly. And let me tell you a story. This is a tale about a place called Hearthshire. Not a grand kingdom, mind you. No towering spires or marble halls. Hearthshire was a valley, a gentle cup of green nestled between two sleepy hills, where a river ran clear as morning light and willows trailed their fingers in the current. In Hearthshire there were 17 cottages, each one different, each one loved. There was Millicent's cottage with the blue door and the window boxes overflowing with nasturtiums. There was old Garrick's stone house with the crooked chimney that puffed smoke in lazy spirals. And there was the smallest cottage at the edge of the village green, covered in climbing roses the color of sunset. This cottage belonged to Elara. Elara was the lantern keeper's daughter, though the lantern keeper himself, her father Matthias, had passed 3 winters prior, leaving her the duty he'd cherished all his life. Every evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of apricot and lavender, Elara would walk the winding paths of Hearthshire with a long copper pole and a flame that never went out. She would light each of the village's 47 lanterns, one by one. It was a simple task, a quiet task. But Elara loved it. She loved the click of the lantern glass opening, the soft whoosh as the wick caught flame, the golden glow that pushed back the gathering dusk, making every cottage window look like a tiny sun. The villagers would wave to her as she passed. "Evening, Elara, blessings on the light. Thank you, dear." And she would nod, smile softly, and continue on her way. But lately something had changed. Elara had begun to feel a restlessness, a gentle ache, like hunger but not for food. It was a yearning for something she couldn't quite name. She found herself pausing longer at each lantern, watching the flame dance, wondering what lay beyond the 2 sleepy hills that cradled Hearthshire. What stories flickered in other valleys? What lights glowed in distant windows? She had never left Hearthshire, not once. And perhaps it was time. It was on a misty autumn evening, when the air smelled of wet leaves and wood smoke, that the stranger arrived. Elara was lighting the lantern near the old stone bridge, the 23rd lantern on her route, when she heard footsteps. Not the familiar tread of villagers heading home for supper. These steps were slow, deliberate, accompanied by the soft tap-tap of a walking stick on cobblestone. She turned, and there, emerging from the mist like a figure from a dream, was an old woman. She wore a cloak the color of moss. Her hair was silver, braided with small bells that chimed softly as she moved. Her eyes were bright, sharp and kind all at once, and when she smiled, Elara felt as though she'd known her all her life. "Good evening," the woman said. Her voice was like warm honey. "Might you be the lantern keeper?" "I am," Elara replied, feeling suddenly shy. "My name is Elara." "Elara," the woman repeated it as if tasting something delicious. "A good name, a name for light." She gestured to the lantern glowing above them. "Your work is beautiful." Elara blushed. "It's just lanterns." "Just lanterns," the woman chuckled, a sound like wind chimes. "No, dear child, lanterns are thresholds, bridges between day and night. They guide the weary, they comfort the afraid, they say, you are not alone in the dark." Elara had never thought of it that way. "What brings you to Hearthshire?" she asked. The woman leaned on her walking stick, gazing around the misty village with a look of deep contentment. "I am a gatherer of stories," she said. "I travel from valley to valley, village to village, collecting tales to carry forward. And I heard that Hearthshire had something precious, a lantern keeper who tends her lights with love." Elara's cheeks warmed. "I just do as my father did." "Then he taught you well." The woman paused, then tilted her head curiously. "Tell me, Elara, have you ever wondered what lies beyond your valley?" The question struck something deep. Elara's breath caught. Yes, sometimes." The woman nodded knowingly. "The heart that tends home often dreams of horizon. That is not wrong, child. That is human." She reached into her cloak and drew out a small object, a compass, brass and worn smooth with age. Its face was etched with symbols Elara didn't recognize. "This," the woman said, "is a traveler's compass, but it does not point north, it points toward Story." Story. Wherever there is something worth seeing, worth knowing, worth carrying forward, the needle will pull. She held it out. "I give it to you." Elara hesitated. "But the lanterns." "The lanterns will wait," the woman said gently. "Or perhaps someone else will light them while you wander. The world is full of kind hands, Elara. Do not be afraid to rest yours." Before Elara could respond, the woman pressed the compass into her palm. It was warm, alive almost. And then, with a smile and a chime of bells, the old woman turned and walked back into the mist. Elara stood there for a long moment, the compass glowing faintly in her hand. When she looked down, the needle was spinning. And then it stopped, pointing east, toward the hills. That night, Elara could not sleep. She lay in her small bed beneath the slanted roof of her cottage, listening to the familiar sounds, the creak of old wood, the whisper of wind through the roses, the distant hoot of an owl. She held the compass close. "Story," the woman had said. "The needle points toward Story." What story waited beyond the hills? By dawn, Elara had made her decision. She would go. Pause, gentle and affirming. But she would not abandon her duty. In the morning she walked to Millicent's cottage, the one with the blue door and the nasturtiums. Millicent was a baker, round and warm, with flour perpetually dusting her apron. "Millie," Elara said softly, standing in the doorway of the fragrant kitchen, "I need to ask you something." Millicent turned, wiping her hands on a cloth. "Of course, dear. What is it?" I need to leave Hearthshire just for a little while to see what's beyond the hills." Elara's voice wavered. "But the lanterns." Millicent's face softened. She crossed the kitchen and took Elara's hands in her own, warm, strong, dusted with flour. "Oh, sweet girl," she said. "Do you think you're the only one who can hold a light?" Elara blinked. "We'll tend them," Millicent said firmly. "All of us. We'll take turns. Old Garrick, Thomas the shepherd, young Pip, me. And so, dear ones," with a small pack on her shoulders and the compass warm in her pocket, Elara stood at the edge of Hearthshire as dawn broke gentle and gold. She had never seen her village from this angle before, looking back instead of walking through. The cottages seemed smaller somehow, more precious, like something from a painting or a memory already half-dreamed. Millicent had packed her bread, thick slices wrapped in cotton cloth, still warm. Old Garrick had pressed a small knife into her hands. "For cutting kindling," he'd said gruffly, though his eyes were wet. "Or apples, mostly apples." Young Pip, the shepherd's boy, had given her a smooth river stone. "For luck," he'd whispered. And now she walked. The path up the eastern hill was one she'd seen 1,000 times but never taken. It wound through tall grass that whispered secrets as she passed. Wildflowers nodded their heads, purple thistle, white yarrow, golden tansy. With each step, the world expanded. At the crest of the hill, Elara stopped and turned. Hearthshire lay below, cradled in morning mist, smoke rising from chimneys in gentle threads. She could just make out Millicent's blue door, the stone bridge, the village green. Her heart squeezed tight, but the compass in her pocket pulsed warm, and when she looked ahead, the world opened like a page turning in some grand, ancient book. Beyond the hill lay forests she'd never seen, a road of pale stone that curved like a ribbon. In the distance, mountains touched the sky, their peaks crowned with early snow that caught the sunlight and threw it back in shards of white and gold. Elara took a deep breath and walked forward. The forest came upon her gradually. First, scattered trees, oak and ash, their leaves just beginning to turn copper and flame. Then closer, denser, until she walked beneath a canopy that filtered the sunlight into shifting patterns of green and gold. It was quiet here. Not silent, never silent. The forest hummed with life. Birds called to one another in languages Elara didn't know. Somewhere, water trickled over stones. Beneath her feet, the path was soft with moss and fallen leaves that released their earthy perfume with each step. She walked for hours. The compass needle remained steady, pointing her deeper into the woods. And then, just as the afternoon light began to slant long and amber through the trees, Elara heard something. Singing. It was faint at first, a melody that wove between the tree trunks like embroidery thread. Wordless, haunting, beautiful in a way that made her chest ache. She followed the sound and found herself in a clearing. In the center stood a tree unlike any she'd ever seen. Massive, ancient. Its trunk was silver white, its leaves a shimmering gold that seemed to hold light even in shadow. And there, sitting cross-legged at its roots, was a young man. He was singing to the tree. His voice rose and fell, gentle as rainfall, and as he sang, the golden leaves chimed softly, ting, 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 like tiny bells responding to his melody. Elara stood very still, not wanting to interrupt. But the young man must have sensed her presence because his song tapered off into silence. He opened his eyes, dark eyes, warm as polished wood, and smiled. "Hello," he said simply. "Hello," Elara replied. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude." "You're not intruding," he gestured to the tree. "The listening tree welcomes all who come with open hearts." He tilted his head curiously. "I'm Rowan. I'm a songkeeper." "Songkeeper." "I collect songs," he explained. "Old ones, new ones, forgotten ones. I sing them to the listening tree and it remembers them, holds them safe, so that even when people forget, the songs remain." Gentle wonder in the tone. Elara sat down across from him, her pack settling beside her. "That's beautiful." "What about you?" Rowan asked. "What brings you to the Whispering Woods?" She drew out the compass, showed him how the needle pointed steadily east, told him about the old woman, about Hearthshire, about the restlessness that had grown in her heart. Rowan listened, with the kind of attention that felt like a gift. When she finished, he nodded slowly. "The compass brought you here for a reason," he said. "Would you like to hear the song the tree has for you?" "The tree has a song for me." "It has a song for everyone." Rowan stood, offered her his hand. "Come." She took it, his palm warm and calloused, and let him lead her to the base of the great tree. "Place your hand on the trunk," he said softly. "Close your eyes and listen." Elara did. The bark was smooth and cool beneath her palm. She closed her eyes. And she heard it. A melody rose from somewhere deep, not in her ears but in her bones. It was her father's voice humming as he lit the lanterns. It was Millicent's laughter. It was the creak of her cottage door and the rustle of roses and the sound of her own heartbeat, steady and sure. It was home. But woven through it, like a new thread in old cloth, was something else. Something bright and wild and full of possibility. The song of the road, the song of story. When she opened her eyes, tears were running down her cheeks. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Rowan said gently. "Yes," she whispered. He smiled. "The listening tree says you carry light wherever you go, even without your lanterns." Elara's breath caught. Rowan reached up and plucked a single golden leaf from a low branch. It chimed softly in his hand. "Take this," he said. "When you feel lost, hold it. And remember, you are never without your light." She took the leaf carefully. It was warm, impossibly light, and it hummed faintly against her skin. "Thank you," she said. Rowan bowed his head. "Travel well, lantern keeper." And as the sun dipped lower and the forest filled with gentle shadow, Elara continued east. 2 days later, Elara emerged from the forest. Before her spread a valley much different from Hearthshire. This one was wide and flat, crossed by a lazy river that sparkled in the afternoon sun, and on the riverbank sat a village. But oh, what a village! Every building was woven. Not built with stone or wood, woven. The walls were made of flexible branches twisted together in intricate patterns. The roofs were thatched with river reeds that whispered in the breeze. Even the fences and gates were woven, creating designs that looked like lace made solid. Elara walked slowly down the hill, mesmerized. As she entered the village, people looked up from their work, for everyone here seemed to be weaving something. An old woman sat outside her cottage, fingers flying as she wove a basket. A group of children wove flower crowns, laughing as they worked. A man stood waist-deep in the river, harvesting reeds. "Welcome," called a voice. Elara turned. A woman approached, tall and graceful, with long fingers stained green from plant dye. Her hair was wrapped in a scarf patterned with spirals. "I'm Calla," she said. "Headwoman of Rivenweave, you look like you've traveled far." "I have," Elara said. "From Hearthshire beyond the western hills." Calla's eyes lit up. "A traveler, we love travelers. They bring new patterns, new stories." She linked her arm through Elara's. "Come, you'll stay with me tonight." This is the end of the story for now. Like and subscribe to follow Elara on her journey.